It was an early morning at Sweet Apple Acres. Applejack was up early. She got up around 6 a.m. to taking care of her daily chores, since Big Macintosh was away on his honeymoon with Sugarbell. So she decided to take care of hers and his chores. And it wouldn't be the first time she had done it before. Among the first things she did was to feeding the animals, and then took care of some things at the barn and to make sure that Apple Bloom got up and get ready for school. And after Apple Bloom had left, Applejack went back inside to cleaning the house along with Granny Smith. It took them about an hour to clean since there were a lot of things to be taken care of. Afterwards, Applejack went to do some harvest of some apples to bring them into town for selling at the market. After she'd done that, she took some of the boxes with the apples into town, and while she was setting up her sales for at the market, she heard a voice. "Good morning, Applejack." "Oh, Kovu, hi. So, what are you doing here?" "Oh, Twilight asked me to do some errands for her. At least get some things in the morning." "Oh, is there something you want?" Yeah. He, Twilight actually asked me to get some apples for her and Spike. "Oh, right. How many apples do you want?" Um, I think she said about 20 apples. 20? Oh, sure. Give me a moment. So Applejack started to packing 20 apples in a paper bag for him. After that, he paid for them, but he didn't leave right away. He actually stood there just small talk with Applejack while she continued to set up her sale for apples. "So you're doing this alone, right?" "Yeah, my big brother is actually on a honeymoon with his wife Sugarbell right now, and Apple Bloom is at the school. Granny Smith is taking care of some things back home, so some pony had to do it." "Right. Well, at least that your brother is on a honeymoon, and that's good." "Yeah, you know, sometimes I'll be a little bit jealous about that." "Really?" "I mean, sometimes it may also be wondered if I would even get my own boyfriend or, get married and continue the family one day. I've always wished that I could meet the right pony for me as well." "Well, who knows? Maybe you'll do one day," said Cooper with a smile. "Thanks. I do appreciate that. Well, I should probably head back to the castle to bring this apple to Twilight so that she won't even send Spike to send for looking for me, he said with a smile and chuckle. "Yeah, you probably should do that," said Applejack. He said goodbye and he left. But only on the way back to the castle, Cooper thought about what Applejack said. She had a point, because neither of them are even younger, and as time went on for all, as time was going on for both of them, they're only getting older. And even Coover, deep down in his mind and his heart, even he wanted to start a family one day. But he just didn't know exactly how or with who, since there weren't any particular pony in town that he was interested in, except for one. That was Applejack. Since Kuvo had been living in Ponyville for about 4 years now, he had actually been in love with Applejack for about a year. But he hasn't even told any pony except for Twilight and Spike. They actually told them just to be careful not to break Applejack's heart, but since both Twilight and Spike had told him that Applejack has never even been dating any pony before, because she was mostly been taking care of her farm with the family, and now she is also as a teacher at the School of Friendship, which also takes a lot of time from being a potential of free time of dating. And not only that, but also been taking care of the apple family's harvesting for sap apples season every year. And some other things like apple cider It's one of many reasons why Applejack had always been busy to that. But today, Kovu thought maybe it was time to even confess to Applejack. So after he returned back to the castle, gave the apples to Twilight, he decided to just confess to Applejack that same day, but maybe sometimes in the afternoon. And around the afternoon, around 2 p.m., when he went into town again, he noticed that Applejack had left the market already, so he decided why not just go back to the Sweet Apple Acres to talk to Applejack, which he did. He found her just doing some chores again. Oh, hey, Kovu. I didn't know what you were expecting him here. Oh, yeah, I'm just walking by, just off for a walk, and I wanted to talk to you something. Oh? What is it? Well, what you said about you one day to get married and all that stuff. Yeah? What about it? Well, I have been thinking about the same thing. I mean, I really want to have a family of my own one day, and it just, I haven't really thought much on who to be with, except for one particular pony. Who? Asked Applejack. It's, um, it's you, AJ. Applejack was stunned. She was actually silent because she never even thought of this was even possible that Kovu would have been had a crush on her. She asked Kovu if he was actually serious and not as a joke. He said that it was serious. He would never joke about this at all. Never. But he said that that he understand if Applejack would even date a lion if she only preferred to be with ponies. But Applejack said that she would actually consider to be dating a lion. So they decided to go on a date that same evening just to see if there was any particular spark between them. So I will see you at the restaurant later tonight, around 5 p.m. Yeah, I will see you there then. Well, I will probably head back to town, so I will see you later. Huh? Yeah, I will see you later, Sugar Cube. Kovu was actually quite happy, but also at the same time a bit nervous. This was his very first date ever, and he wasn't sure if he would even have any success to be with Applejack. But in the evening, around 5 p.m., Kovu arrived at the restaurant, and Applejack was actually outside waiting for him. Oh, hey, sorry if I'm a bit late. No, it's okay, Kovu. You're just in time. And don't you look stunning? Thanks. Well, that's actually my, Grant Smith actually thought this might be more fitting for me to be on my first date. She was actually wearing a blue ribbon in her mane and tail. But despite this was barely something both was looking forward to. Even though they were expecting maybe be so awkward or at least a bit nervous around their first date. But it was completely opposite. There weren't even no silence between them at first. After they'd been sitting at by a table, they started talking and they had a good time. And even afterward they had ordered food and all that, they still had a good conversation. They talked about some of their past adventures, childhood memories and all that. And they had just overall a good time. But it was just something about Kovu that Applejack was curious about. She even asked him, "What exactly made you fall in love with me?" I mean, if may ask that though. At first, Kovu didn't know what to say. Well, to be honest, it was your kindness, your honesty, and your strength. I mean, when the first time I saw you kicking the trees and those how many apples fell down, I was really stunned of that. I mean, I even saw how many your other friends tried it. They wouldn't even could even barely eat that many apples. You have no problem at all. You can just kick a tree after tree and dozens of apples fall down, almost every single apple. Well, that takes practice, you know. I mean, considering that my family have been doing this now for a few generations already. Oh yeah, that's right. Your family was one that eventually established Ponyville for the first time. That's correct. After the dinner, they actually took a walk around town, and just before they were to take separate ways, Applejack even gave him a kiss on the cheek and said that she had a great time. She said she wouldn't mind to go on a date again with him, so they decided to go on a date a few more days later. And after about a couple of weeks of dating, they actually made it official. It was just something that really made it happy for them. And it didn't take long for the whole town to know about Applejack. One of the local heroes is dating a lion. Every pony in town was actually quite excited to hearing this, especially our friends, but most of all, her family. The one who was most excited for Applejack was actually Apple Bloom. She loved that her big sister was having a boyfriend. She even teased her from time to time about it. But Apple Bloom was really happy that Applejack was having some special someone in her life. But it did happen that Kovu didn't see Applejack so often either. Not every single day, due to the fact of her be a teacher at School of Friendship and that she worked at the farm. And sometimes she would have to leave town to do some work at Appaloosa and some other places where their apple families was needed. And it also happened that when Applejack was preparing for a rodeo, Kubo was actually there to cheer her on. Even though sometimes he wished that he could go, but it wasn't unfortunately unable for most of the time, due to the fact he had some other work to take care of this back in town. But one day, he told Applejack that he is leaving town for a while. She was actually surprised and said, like, why? Did something happen? Well, it turned out that my father broke one of his legs and I is needed back home for a while. Oh, well, at least that's nothing serious. No, but something else happened? Well, not exactly. You know, since I am like the second oldest of six siblings, if my family, and that makes me the second in line to the throne of my family's kingdom. It was right. Kovo was the second oldest son and also the second prince in the line of the kingdom of the lions in northern Equestria. Applejack was actually quite surprised and even happy and not even proud when she heard about this the first time. Well, how long will we be gone? Um, I think about a couple of weeks, at least. I think about 2 to 3 weeks at most. Maybe more, that it depends on how, if I'm not much needed. May I ask, why did you have to go? I mean, if you're the second oldest, wouldn't your older brother being the one taking care of the ruling from meantime until your father's health, back to health again? Sure, yes, shortly that would have been the answer, yes. But that's another thing that also is that there are a festival in town, or at least my kingdom, and it requires every single member of the royal family had to be there as part of tradition. Oh, yeah, but I understand that I had to be gone for a while. So I'm leaving tomorrow around noon. She, so you can come and see her to say goodbye to me at the station if you want. Applejack said that she would. So the next day, she did say goodbye to him at the station. And while he was gone for the next 3 weeks, Applejack tried to keep herself busy with helping at the farm, at the School of Friendship, and some other things. And soon enough, 3 weeks passed quickly. And Kovu returned home, and the first thing Applejack did when she saw him, gave him a big hug and a big kiss. But there was something about this. There was something about him. It's like he wasn't acting the same anymore. Well, he looked more handsome, she thought. Have you worked out? Oh, you have noticed. Yes, a little bit actually. I try to keep myself, maintain my health and all that. He said. But despite all this, their relationship remained strong. But one day, during the winter, when Applejack was out in the woods to try to find a good tree to bring back to the farm, she looked around to find any particular good tree, but the most trees that she found was either too small or too big. But then she managed to find the perfect tree. But at the same moment as she was about to cut down the tree, she heard a snapping sound. But before she could even react any more, everything turned completely dark for her. The last thing she remembered was a sharp pain in her head. Turned out a tree branch of the tree above her snapped due to the fact that the snow on the branch was too heavy, and the branch was so thick it made her unconscious right away. In fact, she wasn't even found until in the late evening. She left her home around in the early afternoon to try to find a tree. But when Applejack didn't return, Apple Bloom went into town to see if Kovu had seen her, but he said, "No, I haven't seen her at all, not since yesterday." Then he asked what happened. And, well, Applejack wasn't found at all that time. So Apple Bloom told him about that she is missing. Well, she hasn't returned yet. So he decided to go with her to look for Applejack. They looked around in the woods. They managed to track her footprints, and they found her. Trapped under the tree, Kovu lifted it away but she was unconscious. So he picked her up, carried her on his back, and Apple Bloom took the axe with her back to the farm, while Kovu took Applejack to the hospital. There, they could just confirm she had a mild case of a concussion, and nothing serious. But she had to stay in bed for at least about a couple of days just to relax. So, when she was taken home the next day from the hospital, well, she was actually happy that Kovu found her along with Apple Bloom and that he took her to the hospital. He did that because he loved her more than anything. He even told her, "Applejack, you have no idea how I felt when I found out you were missing, that you even had gone home yet. And I cannot even imagine how my life would have been without you." She cried and said that she would never do that again and always be careful. In fact, even though she was mostly in bed during the holiday of Heartwarming Eve, well, Kovu was actually invited by Big Macintosh, Sugarbell, Apple Bloom, and Granny Smith. And Applejack was allowed to be along the family. She had actually had a good time with them. And the bond between Applejack and Kovu even grew stronger that particular day. But there was something about them that made the things really happy. About 3 years later, Kovu decided he wanted to start a family and even get married with Applejack. So he took her to a restaurant, the same one where he had the first date 3 years earlier, to celebrate their third anniversary. When he did propose to her, she said yes immediately. She then started even to cry of joy. Applejack asked Twilight to be the one to perform the ceremony, and that Rainbow Dash to be her maid of honor, which she accepted. Kovu had asked Spike to be his best man, and when both sides of families were invited, they were actually over the moon of this. They chose to have the wedding at Sweet Apple Acres due to the fact of the large invitations to the whole Apple family clan, which makes perfect sense to using Sweet Apple Acres for that. And even at the small party afterwards, everybody could see how happy that Kovu and Applejack were together. It was more than anything that they could ever ask for. To be married with the one they loved the most in the whole world. It's something about them that made them really so excited. It's just something about their feelings for each other so happy. And later, they actually went to Baltimore for 2 weeks as their honeymoon. They already had just a great time. A lot of shopping, sightseeing, and even watch some local performance. They were happy to have taken the next step in their relationship. And after being married for about 2 years, they wanted to start a family of their own. But since they knew that they were impossible for them to have any children of their own together, so they decided to do something else, to adopt. So they went to the adoption agency in Kansas City to see if they could adopt a child. First, they needed to be approved. After a while, they were approved. And they were actually allowed to adopt 2 daughters who were sisters. One was younger, one was older. And they both daughters will actually much love both Kovu and Applejack. But then a while later, about another 2 years, Applejack and Kovu decided they wanted to adopt some more. This time they adopted 3 children, 1 daughter and 2 sons. They were actually siblings. The 2 boys was actually twins. Applejack couldn't be more happier now to have 5 children of her own and would be married with Kovu. And even Kovu, he had not had wished for anything more than in this world to be married to Applejack. Because their feelings for each other only grew stronger for each single day that it went. But even so, Kovu doesn't regret the day when he did confess and asked Applejack out on a date all those years ago. He was actually happy, and even Applejack was so excited when he did. So for that, they love each other more than anything. And this is how Applejack and Kovu found a true love, got a big family together. The end.